Namaskar and good evening to all. Uh, Today, we are going to discuss about joy of learning. The joy of learning is indispensable in study as breathing is in running. When someone is taught the joy of learning, it becomes a lifelong process that never stops, a process that creates a logical individual. I, Puneet Sharma, moderator of today's session on joy of learning, welcome all the valuable attendees. Today, we have with us Professor Bhat as a guest and panelist to share his thoughts, experiences on the topic. He is known as an institution builder. Professor Bhat is a Vice-Chancellor of Manav Racha University. He has served as Director MNIT Jaipur, NIT Hamirpur, NIT Delhi, NIT Jalandhar, IIIT Kota, AICT as well as NBA. I welcome Professor Bhat. Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar, namaskar.
The second panelist for today's session is Dr. Kamlesh Chandra. He's a known face when it comes to training minds and thoughts. Dr. Kamlesh is an expert on memory training. He is chairman of SHANA International School, CEO of Learnometrics India Private Limited. I welcome Dr. Kamlesh Chandra.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So, Professor Bhat, to begin with, as today's topic is joy of learning. So, what does it mean by joy, learning, and joy of learning, and how are they connected to each other?
Thank you, Puneetji. First of all, let me thank you for giving me an opportunity to be part of this discussion. And I hope that our participants will be enlightened by other experts as well about this topic, and will find it quite useful. When we look at the joy of learning, it has two words, joy and learning. Joy is nothing but the feeling of great pleasure or happiness, in fact. And therefore, it is synonymous to desire, interest, motivation, and so many other things, in fact. It brings a positive emotion. When we talk about joy, it brings a positive emotion. And this positive emotion in the student ultimately leads to a stimulated learning. And when we say a student is stimulated to learn, or is enjoying his learning and is getting pleasure or happiness from this learning, he is on the path of creativity and the growth ultimately. So when we look at the learning part of it, say for instance, it connotes knowledge, the skills, or the insight of a subject or a situation, in fact. This learning also is something which probably, when we talk about a skill, which we earlier did not have, and we learn the skill and then finally use it. And the third aspect, which is very, very important in that, when we talk about learning, is the affective domain gets influenced, which means that when we read something, when we study something, when we educate ourselves, when we ultimately learn things, there is a behavioral change of looking at things or interacting with others. So therefore, when we talk about the learning, it is an experience where learner develops competencies in terms of knowledge, skills, and the behavioral aspects. Right? And when we combine them together, or when we talk about this learning, it could be in the current area, it could be a new area which you are exploring, which we have not done earlier, in fact. And ultimately, if you learn something, you get a personal satisfaction. And if you keep on learning certain skills, if you keep on learning some additional knowledge, or if there is a behavioral change which is causing a change in the affective domain, obviously there are a lot of career prospects, and they get improved also. So if we look at these benefits, I think a learner has to be a willing learner. You cannot really force a person to learn. He has to be a willing learner, and then it benefits him. Now, why do we need to learn is another question. Because the technology is changing, the new knowledge is there. There are expectations from the society, the community, the friends, the parents. Every teacher has certain expectations from every student, in fact. And in order to survive, we need some required skill set. And this is how we do it. It could be in any domain which you are interested in learning is becoming very, very important. So learning must be done quickly, obviously, because there's no time. The changes which are taking place are enormous, and therefore learn efficiently, effectively, and quickly becomes the buzzword which is very, very important. It has also been seen that when we talk about joy of learning, it gets enhanced or supported when somebody is praising you, somebody is educating progress and telling you that you are doing a wonderful job. Keep on doing it. Go ahead. One more step. And that helps in enjoying it. The person feels that he is on the right path. He is being appreciated, and therefore he is doing something which is being recognized also. Learning also has another aspect. We collaborate with others. Say, for instance, when we sit in a class or when we do a project work, we are collaborating, and we are able to create certain things which probably were not there, or we might be improving certain things which were already existing. That is very, very important. We think independently when we collaborate, and then discuss among ourselves that what is we need to do. So therefore, it helps in decision making different choices, and this brings joy and also the ownership of learning process, which is very, very important. When we look at the classroom, I have been a teacher for the last 45 years, and when we look at the classroom teaching, I think what needs to be done is it must be made easy. And gradually, we should keep on improving the difficulty level. We should keep on giving them the challenging tasks, and then be available for a support and assistance, but not give them the solutions. And that is how they enjoy it. They feel part of the whole process, and therefore they learn, which is very, very, they learn the context, in fact, also. And therefore they also talk about, they learn from their friends. They feel safe, valuable, and also respected simultaneously when they are doing certain things, and we are supporting them from outside, is what is very, very important for all of us. So therefore, if we look at now the definition of joy of learning, which you talked about, it is the mode of learning in which the learners are given an opportunity to experience emotions of surprise in delightful ways, nurture their curiosity, interacting with meaningful content through a supportive community of peer groups and teachers, is what is the definition of joy of learning.
Thank you, sir. The important takeaway is joy of learning is experience of emotions. Coming to Kamlesh, we as human, when we are, we visit this planet, by default, we are joyful, right? A child, if you see that is having immense energy, full of always cheer, joy, immense pleasure. But somehow, during the process of evolving self or the journey of life, the thought processes and the other external elements or factors, they affect us so much that we forget how to relish or add joy in our journey. Your take on that part, that joy of learning. You are on mute, sir.
Thank you. So at the time of birth, child has ample of neurons and that brain is still not in a shape. We all take this birth, this life, but still we are incomplete. Our brain is not developed, our body is not developed. So this learning is something which is essentially required. It is a matter of existence. Like we need to build up this brain, we need to have mind, and we need to, build up our own self. So in this whole process, nature has designed us in such a way that there are three fundamental powers working in all of us. And especially you see in children, they have sense of wonder. Oh, wow, this is. So this sense of wonder pushed them towards something, that inbuilt mechanism in every human is there, sense of wonder. Oh, wow. And every time when child feels this, oh, wow, something new happens. That joy of learning, comes out and child enjoys that thing. Second thing is when we are into something, we are into some kind of act, we are trying to do something, and the moment we feel, oh, I have done it, that sense of achievement that again gives a kind of joy. So that is a very beautiful thing. And everybody, whosoever he is, whenever we complete something, whenever we do something, whenever we achieve something, we have that joy within us. And the third thing is the joy of service or the joy of contribution. And that is again, I feel that nature somehow has encoded this thing into our DNA. Any human on this planet, anywhere, if he contributes anything anybody's life, or even in contribution in sense of anywhere, that joy automatically comes out. So what I personally feel is these three parts are the essential components of our self. So in the process of learning, when whatever we are learning, we are trying to explore our surroundings, we are trying to explore our own self. We go through this process, we go through wonder, we go through achievements, we go through the process of this contribution, we have that joy. Now, when we talk about this journey and this learning, what happens in most of the time in schools, when students, they reach, they're full of these three things. They have full of that wonder. But Puneet, have you seen when students are coming after 15 years, after their schools, do you see that still they have that same sense of wonder? They know, I know everything. Oh my God, even you don't know even a single leaf, how it is working. There is so much deep. Even we still don't know, after so much scientific discoveries and everything, we still don't know how electron behaves, how atom works. There are a lot of mysteries. So that somehow in this whole process, that sense of wonder gets disappeared. Most of the time when students, they go to schools, the role of their mentors or teachers is to find out faults. Okay, let me see what you have done in mathematics. Oh, you have done these 5 wrong things. So they mark those wrong things. In English, you have done these 10 wrong things. In SST, you have done these 5 mistakes. So teachers or mentors, they are there to find out mistakes. So instead of having that sense of achievement, child might have done 20 good things, but teacher only will highlight 4 bad things which he has done in notebook or whatever. So child is feeling again and again that sense of failure. Oh my God, I missed it. Oh, I'm not able to do this. And the third is the sense of contribution. I think in our education system, it is missing. We feel that a child only can contribute once I'll grown up, I'll get job, I'll be in business, then only I'll be able to contribute something. So that opportunity to serve, the opportunity to contribute something somewhere in schools, in our colleges, that is missing. And that is the reason, Puneetji, this joy of learning has disappeared. It is a gift of nature given to all of us. But because in system, these things are not there, so we hardly experience it.
We notice the birds, no matter whatever the age of that creature is, they're always full of joy. In the morning hours, you will
Yes,
find it. They do
life
whatever
itself is a joy.
is.
See, what we learn in schools, that one day I'll do this much, and then I'll have job, and then I'll be happy, then I'll enjoy life. So we put so much, we condition mind so badly that with this, I'll be happy, I'll be joyful. And then essence of life is missed.
So I would like to quote a famous शेर by Nazir साहब, जिस काम को आए थे दुनिया में ऐ नजीर, अफसोस कि तुझसे वही काम रह गया. Living life with full of joy, आनंद में जीना ही, that was the ultimate aim, not to earn money or not to fame. Sir, but sir, कुछ कहना चाहिए.
I would just add to what he in fact said. We have to understand as teachers, in fact, that when we are talking about this joyful learning or joy of learning, this is not a single route, and it is not having one answer. When we are talking about creativity, when we are talking about innovations, it is a multi-route process, and most of the teachers as of today consider it to be a single route process, that the answers which have been given in the class are the only answers which are right answers. So therefore the perspective needs to change. We give lectures, but probably we need to change now, bring changes from didactic teaching learning approaches to the constructive approach, in fact. So far we have been talking about the teacher learning, centered learning. We have to focus on ultimately the student oriented learning. It is ultimately the student who has to learn, and therefore focus should be on the student. And mostly earlier, when I was a student, the teacher would say that you sit down calmly in the class and keep doing your work. So things are changing from this passive teaching to the active engagement of a student, in fact. And also today, the subjects are not taught as standalone subjects. We are talking about innovations. We are talking about incubations. We are talking about multidisciplinary things which NEP talks about. Therefore, we have to think beyond those textbook things and create interest among the students. I'll just give you an example. Say, for instance, these are some of the traditions which we have been following, unfortunately, but we need to change. See, most of the boys in our families are asked to go and sit and study, and the girls will do the job in the kitchen. Why so? Let these boys also enjoy the process of cooking. Let them understand what are the ingredients in this process of this recipe. Experiment them, do their own experiments, and make something which is very, very nice. So they will enjoy it, I'm sure. Or they can even have that, give that helping hand to people who are making it. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I was talking to, a few days back, in fact, I was talking to one of my colleagues, and she said that my daughter was going to the tuitions, and usually they would drop her to the near the tutor's house and bring her back also. One day they told her, you go in a rickshaw, we'll drop you there, you come back in the rickshaw, and this is the money, you keep it with you. And then when she came back, she was puzzled, and the mother asked, what happened? Why are you so confused, type of thing? She said, 3 rickshawwalas refused to bring me home, because she had never thought that a rickshawwala can refuse also. So, and besides this, then she was told that it is his will. You cannot force anybody to do what you want. And then in the process, she came on different days, she came through different routes. She understood what this, where she is living. what are different routes to her house, because when she was in a car, she never knew about it. Similarly, another child, in fact, asked my granddaughter, in fact, one day asked, these plants grow, what they eat? See, we eat so much food and then finally we grow. Then I try to explain them that, see, they also get nutrients, vitamins, and all those things which they require from the soil. They said, we can stand on the soil and also get keep on growing. I said, no, this cannot happen. She said, if they can also, they are also on the soil, why can't they, we also do the same thing? I said, see, they get sunshine. They said, we will also stand in the sunshine. Then I had to show an experiment that, look, if we have a capillary like this, put it in the water rises up. So then I explained that these trees have a lot of capillaries in their roots, and through these roots, they suck these nutrients into their body, and therefore this is how they ultimately survive. So she became very interested, and then she started looking at these websites and plant growth and started studying it. And she came up with so many other mechanisms and other information, which probably was very difficult, in fact. So the perspective has to change now, that how students are learning has to be understood, and they have to be supported actually. And it is only a teacher who can do it. See, for us, another example, for instance, if we look at the elders, now before COVID, most of them were going to the bank, getting money and doing things, going to the market. Today, they started learning about e-banking, e-marketing, use of social platforms, and they are enjoying it actually. And this is the joy which they got. Initially, maybe there might have been certain hiccups, but when they were taught by their maybe children, or in fact grandchildren, I was taught many things by my granddaughter, and this is the joy which we get now, and we do it. So therefore, there has to be a change in our perspective, which is very, very important. Another thing which is very important is engagement of the learners is very, very important. Unless you engage a person, you have not to give answers. You have to increase the quest in the person, give them half-cooked things, and then ask them to find out the rest of things and find out the connections which are very, very important. This will become very, very important. See, learning is not only a fun-filled exercise, but it should evoke other aspects like taking pride, brainstorming, asking questions, allowing reflective thinking is becoming very, very important. And then connecting that experience which they had earlier is what is required, in fact, in order to educate children these days. So this, in my opinion, this engagement leads to a better learning and also empowerment, because they also understand the process of researching, process of finding out things, which is very, very important. And another aspect is the improved motivation. We need to give them, take efforts, in fact, put best of our efforts in order to increase the motivation level among the children. And it should be ultimately the intrinsic driving force which should do this. So, for instance, again, example of my granddaughter. In fact, during this COVID period, she's hardly 10 years old, and during this COVID period, she picked up few courses like robotics, making a small robot at home, and she also picked up astronomy online classes. And now you cannot really discuss things with her. She has picked up so much information. She has collected and made an album of all those things. She has done experiment in this robotics at this age. And I'm sure that all children have that capacity and capability of doing it. It is not only she who can do it. So therefore, how do we present the material to them? How do we give them the challenging tasks? how do we provide them opportunity to work on those problems becomes very, very important. Another aspect, as far as the joyful learning is concerned, is validation becomes very, very important. Child does not know initially, so therefore he or she is looking for help from the teachers, and it is the responsibility of the teacher to help them, to be available, to be a support to them. Help needed is optional. They may or may not seek help, but the responsibility of helping them for a teacher is not optional. So therefore, it is the responsibility of the teacher to be available for all the activities, for all the questions which the child has. And this is how we can increase the curiosity level, how we can keep on asking the child to do certain activities which are at much higher level. And when we talk about Bloom's, I personally think that they are capable of doing things at the 6th level of Bloom's taxonomy, which is creativity. This helps them in critical thinking, which is very, very important for all of us. And they can express themselves very clearly, which is the aspect when we keep on learning. The last thing which I find, in fact, in this is you need to encourage autonomy and have least control when you are teaching. When I say this, things are changing. We have to observe. We have to really see when we look at a flower, how it ultimately unfolds into a bigger flower, into a rose or into a lotus. The way it happens and the curiosity which we have, the way we nurture it, in the same manner, the motivation level, the curiosity level has to be addressed in a child also. The things are changing. The traditional chalk talk methods are changing. And therefore, they are supplemented by new methods, new pedagogies, new processes. And
I will
the
come back
process
to
has,
you, Bhat,
and the
21st
process has
century
become,
skills.
last is, and the process has become very, very important. This is important. I'll just give an example. One of the children, in fact, he was on a visit and he found a spider web. So they wanted to disturb it. The teacher came. It was in my presence, and the teacher came. He said, "Don't do anything. Do you know what it is?" They said, "It is a spider web." He said, "Do you know what type of spider it is?" They said, "No." He took a photograph and put it on the social media. And believe me, the amount of information which came from different sources was so enormous. And the children collected it and then made a presentation in the class that just for that small observation, it really helped them. And this is joyful learning, actually, which ultimately means positive intellectual and emotional state of learning. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. For this important take, engagement of learner and increasing the autonomy. With these two keywords, I'm coming to Kamlesh ji. The most difficult task is how to think. Then comes how to learn. So, how would you like to address these two important issues in the light of, Bhatt's point that engagement of learners is important and increase of autonomy is needed for today's children. And unfortunately, the behavior of mind is that if you do not control, if you do not guide it, it goes away like anything, anywhere. Sir.
Correct. So, Bhat Sahab has said it very correctly. I would like to say 2-3 things here. Number one, this education model right now, which we have, Puneet, earlier it was syllabus centric. Sometimes it is teacher centric. Sometimes it's student centric. But I personally feel, Puneet, it should be life centric. Life should be at the center. And whatever students are doing in their curriculum, you can see that thing in 2 parts. One is what we are learning about our surroundings. So surroundings, when I'm talking about everything. And second important aspect of learning is about self. So nowadays in education, learning about our own self is totally missing. How my mind is functioning, nobody is going to tell me. How my mood fluctuates, nobody going to tell me anything about this. So this all the faculties of mind, all this system, how it is working. I'm not able to have self-management. I'm not able to motivate myself. That instant motivation, I don't know how it works. I'm not able to understand things. My comprehension speed, my learning, my engagement, my concentration, my habit of procrastination. There are ample of struggle which is within the child. And there is no solution we are providing to them. Students are struggling with ample of things. There is a lot of pressure. You need to do these assignments on this time, but nobody is going to teach them how to manage this time, how to manage yourself, how to manage your life, how to manage your studies. So nobody talks about how to learn and why to learn. And because of these fundamental things, because we don't teach or train our students in how to learn and how to manage your own self, we create a kind of kiosk in his life. So children, most of the time, they struggle with themselves. And because of that struggle, this joy gets lost somewhere. So what I strongly feel, Puneetji, if we emphasize on 2-3 things, really we can help students to learn with that joy which is already within all of us. One is we must help our students with the methods and technologies about this cognitive science, what gives us that this cognitive development or how to learn. That should be the essential part of every school, every college. Second important thing is how to live. So how to learn and how to live, these are 2 very basic things. Once we focus on these fundamental things, what we can do is we can help students to manage this lots of burden and chaos which they have in their own lives. And once they have been trained into these 2 basic things, I think a lot of things can happen. One more thing, Puneetji, students, they go to schools to find out some answers because we feel that answers are very important. So teacher, yeah, answer, you have to do like this and that. The important thing is learning is all about finding new questions. So once you push them, you create such an environment where children are asking more and more and more questions. Slowly and gradually, you are shaping their minds towards how to think. So once they getting answers, students nowadays, they use internet, they find out the answers, they just write it down. Even I'm telling you, the notebook students use, they call it copy.
Copy, yeah.
ये मेरी मैथमेटिक्स की कॉपी है. Oh my God, अच्छा मैथमेटिक्स में भी कॉपी है. ये मेरा इंग्लिश का कॉपी है. तो हमने उनको कॉपी पे इतना एम्फेसिस दे दिया है कि जो अभी भट्ट साहब बात कर रहे हैं, क्रिएटिविटी की बात, कंपोज करने की बात, कुछ नया लिखने की बात, that is all missing. So first, children should get trained with how to learn, so that pressure of learning which they have nowadays, that pressure will get vanished first. Because once they know how to retain information, how to make notes, how to enhance my reading efficiency and all. So once these kids are skilled with these learning things, learning skills, they'll be empowered and they have those old tools. So stress will, get over. And how to live life. So these fundamental things, I think, can fix what chaos which we have created around the education system. So if you supply with these tools, I think we can help many students.
The problems and diseases are created by human itself.
Yes, somehow this system which we have designed, Puneetji, this system has created problems. We all understand that the quality of life which I live, as you are saying, joy of learning, this joy is the innermost core. Whatsoever we are doing in our life, that ultimately there is a quest for joy. I want to experience that joy in whatsoever I do. So the whole purpose is to experience that ultimate joy, right? Whatever the method is. So that joy is an inner thing. So first, and the very important thing which we need to teach our kids is who you are, how this whole thing is made up, this body, your own identity, your own self. So about this self mechanism, I think this science of self must be the integral part of learning. And then only we can come back to the joyful learning.
So first point of ignition is knowing self.
Knowing
Then
self,
rest of the world
yes,
or
and the
anything.
science of self must be everywhere. And I think there are two important parts of this science of self: how I learn and how should I live. So I think this clarity every child must have.
So coming to Bhat, thank you, Kamlesh.
I would just add to that, in fact, before taking your question, in fact, what is being said is it is creating an environment where the behaviors and the practices which are involved in this process of learning must be a continuous learning process. And it should also help us in developing personalities of these students by engaging them actively. That is what is being said actually. And when we look at the present day, the pedagogies which we have been following, normally the lectures which we are doing and trying to finish the courses, now they are being removed. And we today talk about the active learning processes, the collaborative learning, the cooperative learning, and many other strategies which are used in the classroom for joyful learning. And this can happen, in fact, if we have some novelty, if the environment which we create is such that it encourages all these, it encourages that joy, encourages the happiness in the classroom. And that is, if there is a novelty, they would like to know something more about it because it is something which is not available there earlier. Similarly, the classroom environment must be stress-free, and then and only then they will be in a position to remember and retain it for a longer time. It is scientifically proved that if there is a good environment, pleasant environment, a learning environment, which we call as in the classroom, then the dopamine, the happiness hormone, is enhanced. More such hormones are quantity is there, and it results in enhanced motivation, perseverance, attention, creativity, and all those things, in fact, which becomes very, very essential for us, for a child, in fact.
So last 5 minutes we discussed about the pressure of learning was discussed. So the pressure of learning comes from the first institution, that is home. So parents, unfortunately, they knowingly or unknowingly, they are unable to find out the latent in the child, and that joy which is naturally available there, that goes out. So your take on this, how to discover latent attributes of a child from parents' perspective?
See, when we talk about joyful learning, I think the parents, the elders, or the community has to be part of this whole process. The days are gone when the child was sent to the school and the parents would forget about him. Today, he has to be a part and parcel in the process of learning. Unless we do it, there will be a gap. And therefore, it becomes necessary for every parent to understand that his or her role is also to support the teacher and do similar things what the teacher is saying. Teacher is a trained person. The parents are not trained to teach, actually. And therefore, it becomes very, very essential to do it. See, when we look at this cycle, in fact, which you are talking about, this cycle, normally we consider that some knowledge which is already programmed plus some questioning will lead to learning. But I think we need to start with certain questions, raise certain questions, get answers from the students, and then provide some information, which is not all information, and then ask them to think again now in this direction. And then again question them that what they have learned and see that how much learning has taken place. So therefore, it is a question that programmed part of the knowledge, and the questioning ultimately will lead to learning, which will be there for a longer period. It is not about memorizing. It is not only about understanding. It is not about doing something which is already done and you are repeating it. It is about new ideas, analyzing certain situations, giving them an opportunity with the knowledge which they have got earlier, which you know that they have learned already, and then allowing them to use that knowledge will become very, very important as far as analysis is concerned. And once they analyze it and find out that there are certain things which can be done beyond this also, which is the question in which has been the question which has been posed, then you will be in a position to, they will come up with certain new ideas, which is nothing but creation. So therefore, if you really want them to be a critical thinkers, if you really want them to work at the highest level of creativity, I think this is the strategy which needs to be followed in our pedagogies, which is very, very important. Yes.
So there is a connecting question from audiences. How can parents stop burdening children with their own dreams? Joy of learning is intrinsic to what is being learned.
See, if you look at the outside, if you go to US or UK or any other country, they don't allow students to take books home. All the books are in the school. And therefore, the parents do not know what the child is doing. They can only test him or her by seeing what have you learned. What is that new thing which you have understood today? So that is what is important. There must be, it must be done in a very synchronous manner. If the parents are saying something else, teachers are saying something else, then there is a gap and the student gets confused, and that state leads ultimately to not such a good situation. So when we look at this joyful learning, we need to plan it very effectively and tell the parents that they have to be part and parcel of the plans which the teacher has prepared for the students, and we will execute them. Let them keep on testing what the learning has been, but not letting the parents should not teach the children. See, unfortunately, in India, we have a concept of tutoring. Sham ko tutor ke paas chale jao. Hai na? This is the worst thing which is happening. And it has discouraged teachers from teaching. It has also put certain problems for the students in learning process. Look at what is happening in Kota. Look at many other things. This is not what is joyful learning. You go to Kota and talk to those students and you will be miserable. You will feel that I have come to a wrong place. And those children are like in prison, actually. So this is not a joyful learning. We are talking about joyful learning here.
Correct, sir.
Puneet, I would like to say certain things.
And another thing, just another thing. Most of the parents want to, jo wo nahi kar paaye hain, they want that their children should do it. So they want to live a second life through their children. They don't understand it is the life of a child. Let them not live second life through their children. It is very unfortunate. In fact, many parents do it, which is not really fair. Yes, please, sir.
Kamlesh, please.
Yes, sir. So this pain which I have seen in Bhat's voice about these quota students and all, we have done few experiments at SHANA International. See, what I feel, Puneet, we are doing two things simultaneously. One, we have high expectations from our students without giving them any tools, techniques, and skills. So what we have done recently is, like from last decade and so, at our school, we train students in reading skills. So one of the students, I'm taking an example, he is Manish. We trained him with reading speed. And he was one of the performing very good on it. So it was, he came in class 9th. And the very first day, what we do is, let's know your books, that one session we have. So we just flip pages and we explore whatsoever there is in the books, what we're gonna learn. So then I asked students, pick one of the books which you would like to deeply involve with. And I'm telling you what happened, Puneet. This Manish, when we started him giving training, the initial speed was around 15 minutes per page. He could read and comprehend. And with the training, that child, he enhanced his speed. He could do one page in less, like 2 minutes. And the magic thing happened, I'm telling you. We had a session on Friday and he picked a book, geography. And Monday he came back to me. He said, sir, okay, which book you picked? Have you gone through this book? He said, sir, this is geography. And I loved reading this whole book. When you did it, he said, yes, I did it. And he showed me some kind of learning maps and mind maps and everything, Puneet. That batch of my students, they completed their whole CBSE syllabus thing in 60 days. And then they had whole of the year, they were the free birds. We had a lot of things with them. I called one biologist from Himachal, and those kids, they went outside their classrooms. They used to sit with one plant that is called akada in local language. And that is a very interesting plant, I'm telling you. And that story was again great. Calotropis processa, that's a scientific name of this plant. Akade ka ped ko dekh ke, kisi kaam ka ped nahi. So we asked those kids, koi bekar sa plant ho to batao. And then they choose that akada plant. And we had a 40-day session near that one plant. The whole class used to observe those plants. And surprisingly, after 40 days, children found out that there are 21 species living on that one single plant. And there are 2 types of birds. There are 7 types of spiders. There are 14 different kind of ants. And that was such a beautiful thing. And I'm telling you, Vikram, who was leading this project, he did it in such a beautiful way. Ultimately, National Geography, they picked this project, learning life through lenses, and ultimately Vikram was absorbed by this National Geography. So the thing is, once you do something, you empower your student with the right kind of skill, and then you give them expectation, or you have expectation, or you have like some pressure on them, that's okay. But you are not training them with anything, and single-handedly more expectation and more expectation, those are killing those students like anything. So I feel that students must be trained first, and then they should, we should ask them for the performance.
Right. So in the process of learning, whenever a student is committing a mistake, the method to correct is, I think, incorrect. So somehow that student is feeling that he has committed a big blunder or a big mistake, and he gets shrinked. It's only success which is to be showcased, not the failure.
Correct.
So usually, most of the time, failure is treated as a drag, a bummer, or an emotional kick. Failure is never been taken as a fun, though it's an essential part of the learning process. So, your opinion on what is the role of failure in the learning process, Kamlesh ji? I'll come to Bhat also.
Sir, Puneet ji, I'll just share this thing with one example. In our classroom, we had a project. I asked students, how would you like to spend your holidays? What are the things you're going to do in this? So a few children, they had, aspirations to earn some money. They wanted to do like some projects in entrepreneurship. I'm talking about students of class 7th and 8th. And one of the child, Divyansh, he said, sir, I would like to earn 3,000 rupees during this summer break. And what he did, sir, then he wrote a business plan, one executive plan, that this is what my business plan is. And business plan starts with a problem, that there is a problem. Nowadays, everybody is behind these cold drinks. So this is a problem. And how I'm going to solve this? I'll just work out what were the healthy options earlier times. So he went to his Nani's house and asked her that what you guys used to drink. Then Nani ji told him sharbat of khaskhas and some other. So he gathered the recipe, ingredients. He made his own level, fresh, cool kind of a brand. He purchased bottles. He had some loan from own parents, and everything he did. And that sharbat was ready. He kept some bottles in his school bag and he went from door to door. And now this, your question comes, failure, you know. So people banged door on his mouth. Oh, you disturbed us. We were sleeping, this, that. And child, he was there at every doorstep. And some of the people, they were saying, oh my God, you are so young and you are doing this in this summer days. What your parents are doing? He said, both of my parents are doctors, but this is my assignment, which I have taken. And I'm selling this product, and because of this reason. I'm telling you that child, after getting he went to around more than 100 houses and he failed to sell that product to many of the houses, but ultimately he achieved his goal. He earned 3,000 rupees as the profit which he was projecting, and he repaid her his father's loan which he had, and everything, whole project. When he was writing, I was asking him, beta, what you learned? He said, sir, this was mix up, you know. जब लोग मुझे कई बार प्यार से बुलाते थे, कुछ लोग मुझे जो है दुत्कारते थे. It was very mixed up reaction, but I enjoyed a lot. I'm a different person now because that understanding those lots of failures, lot of rejections, and every time you have, you know, okay, let me try one more house, let me push one more bell, let me do this. So that was, he said, sir, it was really very wonderful. In my life, I will never forget this lesson, that next step could be the success. And I realized this.
So in science, we
The
use sine waves.
Same question, in fact, which you have asked. I will just add to what he has already said. In fact, sometimes the parents, as you rightly said in your earlier question, that they force their children to do something which probably the children do not like. And we have an example in our university today also. The child was given admission in BSc because the parents wanted him to do physics and chemistry and maths and whatnot. And the child was not interested in that. And we found that he is actually getting derailed from this process. Over a period of time, in another 2 months' time, we understood that now this child is losing interest in everything. So we called him and asked him, why are not you studying properly? You are a regular student, you don't miss classes, but still you do not do well. He said, sir, I am not interested in science, and my parents have forced me to take these subjects. I asked him, what do you want to do? He said, I'm interested in doing something which is related with music or some literature or something else. And I changed his section completely, program, and now he is one of the best students doing in every program. In fact, he is part of the music program and doing very well. And also in the classes which he is now studying, he is studying some history and something else. There he is doing really wonderful things. So therefore, what it means that the failure is not because the student was not able, is not an able student, or he cannot do it. Probably our planning part, which was done by his parents, was not in the right direction. They never took looked at the interest of the child, and therefore the student was not able to do well. Another thing is, one needs to now look through, go through this process of learning and keep on monitoring. And this is the responsibility of the teacher to see that where the child is not doing well, and therefore he might be failing as per what you said, but he was not actually enjoying it. And therefore we need to give an opportunity to the child or to any student, even in higher classes, that he should be or she should be given an opportunity to work or study in an area which he or she likes. And we need to keep on reviewing it, reflecting about it. and wherever corrective measures are to be taken, can be taken. Another aspect which you talked about, the failure is considered to be a trap. Now, every human being is different. Every human being cannot be the same human being. The IQ level is different, the background is different, the way the environment in the home is different. So therefore, they are standing at different pedestals. And when somebody is given this opportunity to study, he might not do well in some area, and that does not mean failing. Similarly, when you are asking somebody to give options, what are the options available? He might come up with 3 options. Somebody might come up with 4 options. Somebody might come with 10 options. It depends upon the background, the experience, and the learning the previous learning which the student has. And therefore, we should consider that he has come up with some proposals, and therefore he will keep on building up. There could be students who are fast learners, there could be students who are slow learners, and therefore we have to accommodate each one of them and educate them, give them that joy, the happiness which they deserve actually.
Correct, sir. So now coming to a role of a teacher, we have discussed about parents and individual being and surroundings as well. So if a teacher who is attempting to teach without inspiring his students with the desire to learn is actually hammering a cold iron. So how to make teachers' experience of joy in learning so that they can eventually transmit the same to the children, as well as to enhance their conceptual understanding and build pedagogical content knowledge for them. Kamlesh ji.
Sir, there are two different scenarios. The kind of school system which we have created, unfortunately, teacher is there for 45 minutes and there are 50 students sitting, and teacher don't have any emotional connection with the child, even that there is no dialogue in between, and it is just a one-way delivery. So that once that conduit is not set, once that connection is not built, it's very hard that teacher even can anything valuable teacher can give to them. We have tried certain things at SHANA International School, and I would like to just say certain things. We try to dissolve these breaks of 45 minutes, no bell. So we guys set up, a sort of topic that we're gonna do this thing in mathematics, and then teacher keep doing that thing maybe for 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. There is no time bar. Let children ask questions, let them have curiosity and discussions and this, that, hardly matters. The thing is, once you dissolve these structures which we have created, structures like time, you have to do this in 45 minutes, and there is no bonding with teachers. This is the syllabus, this is the thing which you want to, you have to learn, and nothing else. And that this end of this, there'll be this kind of exam, and you will be, awarded your degrees or your mark sheet according to this. So scope and joy for learning in this particular system is very hard. But I believe we can still, as Bhat said correctly, with little scope, we can change it, and very innovative methods we devise at SHANA International. We feel that टीचर का काम पढ़ाना नहीं है, टीचर का काम है बच्चे को पढ़ना. अगर टीचर बच्चे को पढ़ सकता है तो वो उसे पढ़ा सकता है. So we have small groups. These groups are based on the competency level of the child. Many times we create classrooms. Like the system is like this. You create classrooms according to the age of the child. So if in 9th grade, if age of the child is say 14, child will be in 9th standard, and it hardly matters whether the child have competency for that syllabus or that thing or not, but that child is there. And now the role of teacher is you need to deliver that thing, and every child is at a different competency level. Now teacher is not a magician, so what teacher gonna do in that? So what I feel, Puneet, we need a system very flexible system, as like something like that we have here. What we do is, if one child in a class, he knows one particular topic, that child can teach, and we can make, you know, different groups out of 20 students in a class. We can make 4 groups, 5 groups, and which group needs what thing, what is their problem, what they want to understand, what they don't know. So but again, as recently we discussed, we feel that failure is a bad thing. If I don't know something, it is very, very bad on me. So ignorance must be appreciated. Failures, if somebody is trying to attempt and getting failed, we should appreciate that you have done something good. So there must be appreciation for failures. There must be appreciation for ignorance. Then children will come out and they will put their questions, they will put their curiosities, and they will come up. Okay, मेरे को नहीं पता, मैं जानना चाहता हूँ, मैं सीखना चाहता हूँ. And even the role and responsibility of teacher, as Bhat sir said, is more of a facilitator. Teacher must give opportunity to teach some other students of the class to the other students. So peer group teaching must be there. So that will, you know, that kind of environment, that kind of system, that kind of trust, that kind of emotional bonding, that is highly required. So earlier in ancient India, I don't know much about, but there used to be gurukuls. And Gurukul means a big family. And that kind of same thing, if we can create again, if school is like a family and people are living together and they know each other and they're trying to build each other, then only something can happen. I see these current schools just like factory. These are based on factory models. So this is very tough, Puneet, that you can have that joy still, and this kind of both things I hardly see can go hand in hand.
When it comes to human, it's always about emotional bonding.
Yes.
And it's a set example through family system, that in a joint family where multiple members are there, the learning of a child is better than
Yes.
when it comes to a nuclear family system. So there is a quick question from an audience. How can teachers?
Shall I add before something which Kamlesh was talking about? In fact, things are changing, and I hope that more people will understand it and will get will ultimately help learning to make it joyful. In our university, I have said that syllabus completion is not important.
Good.
You may teach 100% syllabus, and if the student has not even understood 10%, then it is of no use. If you teach only 60% and the student is with you and he understands 60%, I think you have done a good job, actually. That interest which you will create among the students will ultimately result in he will study more, he will study something of his own, he will study at his use other resources also, and he will become a learned person. We need to understand, when we try to make this learning a joyful learning, we need to incorporate elements of curiosity, which Kamlesh was talking about. And that is what is very, very important. Unless we make them curious, we will not be able to do it. They should really wonder what is happening. They should really ponder about the things, challenging their thinking. And that is how the learning will take place. And if you create an environment like this, I'm sure that it will compel learners to brainstorm and think creatively. And therefore, a new system of exploration will be encouraged, actually, which is necessary for all of us to understand. Beautiful. Another thing which is which he talked about, in that every child is different. In that, in the first case, he talked about different diversity of children, and therefore expecting everyone to do the same thing may not be right.
It's
right?
Not.
And learners with varied abilities meaningfully interact with the educational content individually, or maybe in groups in a different manner. As you said, that we created groups and which are studying like this. We taught project-based learning in groups. And believe me, At the end of the session, we asked for feedback. How did you like it? Did you learn certain things? What was the outcomes of this? 90% of the students appreciated it and said that this is a method which helps us in understanding better. So therefore, new pedagogies which have come up have to be understood by the teachers, they have to be trained in those things, and ultimately I'm sure that they will be able to make a difference in this. It helps them to learn at their own pace without fear or failure, which we talk about. Right. See, another thing is our role is facilitate connection building. So give them a group, give them material, give them people who have experienced it, and let them interact with the seniors who have undergone this particular subject, and let them have that experience, come with that experience, and give them then new problems to solve with those experiences and knowledge. And I'm sure that they will be in a position to attempt it, try to solve those problems, which is very, very important. Every problem which a teacher gives them must have certain novelty. Unless there is novelty, it will not be of any use actually. So therefore, say for instance, suppose we say there's a SDG says that we should save water, right? Now, how do we save water? Different people will come up with different ideas. People will say that we will bring our own water in a bottle and we consume only one bottle per day. Some people might say that in the cooler, you must have a smaller glass so that more water is not wasted. Somebody might come up with some other ideas that whatever water is spilled can be again filtered and reprocessed. So there could be many solutions actually. So let them come up with these solutions and ask them to execute it. And you will find that it will help them to understand things better, because it will foster reflective thinking and also self-evaluation. Because whatever they are doing, they have to execute it, they have to prove it and validate it by their arguments. And this will help them in becoming better and better.
Great, great.
And another thing which is becoming important, subject boundaries are becoming blurred actually. In real life, there are no boundaries actually. Now, if we look at, let us say, geography, now it has science also, it has history also, it has all things involved in it. So let us combine them together and give them a broader picture. And if you give a broader picture to the students, they will be in a position to appreciate it and enjoy this learning much better. And therefore, few things which are very, very important is we have to provide that rationale for tasks, which is very important, and use a communication which is not controlling type of thing or authoritative type of thing, so that they feel that they are in an environment which is very nice. Every teacher, it is his responsibility to display patience. Unless they display patience, if they do not have patience, they are not worthy of being in this profession actually. They have to show patience. They have to listen to children, encourage them, teach them that certain tasks have to be completed the way they want it, but in certain specific framework also, in time frame also, be using certain resources also. And I'm sure that the children will oblige us by doing that. And this happens actually. And we should always postpone advice unless we find that they are stuck somewhere. We should be scaffolding all of them, giving them support, but not giving them solutions, in fact, which is very, very important.
Puneet,
question, sir.
a very quick thing I would like to share.
Right.
As I've said very beautifully, this support and encouragement, what magic it can create. I'll just very quickly tell you about Lubna. I was asking students, what you want to do in your career? And she was in 9th class. She said, I want to be writer. And then we had some discussion. I thought, once you want to be writer, just write a book. She started working on. And she came to me after a month and so said, I'm writing a book on how to get success in life. मैंने कहा, wow. So Lubna, you are studying in 9th class and how to get success in life, how people will read your book. So she was a little confused. As she said, many of my neighbors, friends are saying that who will read your book? And then I encouraged a little bit. I said, Lubna, why not to find out successful people, try to connect with them, write emails and letters to them and see, ask them how you got success in life. And sir, surprisingly, she made a list of 1,350 successful people of our country. So everybody, Ratan Tata, Narayan Murthy, like all the ambassadors and everybody, 1,350. And she got emails of them. She wrote letters to them. She wrote emails to them. And what happened, sir? She got 750 responses.
Oh my God.
Including Vice President of India, including very great personalities, Chief of the Army Staff, very great people. They responded, like CEO of Flipkart. And ultimately what happened, sir? She could write a book, Stepping Stones. And that was how to get success. And all these great people, they answered. There was simple 3 things. What are the 3 things, sir, you did to get success in your life? And ultimately that book was published. That book is, when she was in 10th, she published that book. That book is on Amazon and Flipkart. So little support and little encouragement changed her whole life. She is a celebrity now.
Wonderful.
See, so this means that giving students voice and choice.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That magic can happen, sir.
Will build self-confidence and also self-esteem among the students, actually.
Yes. And sir, that is a job of a school. That is a job of a mentor.
Teachers. Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
So there is a question for you, Bhat Sahab. How can an institute create a conductive curriculum framework to allow interaction between subject, such as interaction holds the key to problem solving as well as joy of learning?
I think the problem is that we have created walls, as Kamlesh rightly said, in different departments, and they don't talk to each other. We need to break those walls, consider it to be school, right? Or a college or institution. And all of them come together and work on what should be the curriculum type and how this curriculum should be taught in order to have better learning. This is possible. We have done it, and it is not difficult. We are running courses where different departments are interacting. And now, see, if you look at the National Education Policy also, it talks about multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary courses. So therefore, there has to be an interaction between the departments. Earlier, there was no provision of having courses from outside. Now, 40% of the courses a student can take from outside, in fact, right? Now he can earn credits through this ABC credit, academic bank of credits, and earn those credits for his degree or her degree, actually. So therefore, this is happening. I'm sure that in another 5 years or 10 years time, in just 1 decade, less than 1 decade, this is going to happen, whether we agree or not, whether we accept it or not. And we should be prepared for it. We should become part of this journey, actually. Then and only then we as teachers will be successful and our students will be successful.
Thank you, sir.
It requires really people who have a vision, actually. Unfortunately, many of them are not trained for that vision.
Sure. So Kamlesh ji, coming to you with a question. How can teachers help their disciples discover their multiple intelligence? This discovery is at the core of joy of learning.
Right, sir. As I said earlier, that this science of self must be the integral part of the curriculum. And when we talk about self, we talk about what you have inside you. So the different kind of talent you have. So once children, they are aware of what we have, and once we give them that freedom. And as I told you that बच्चे को पढ़ाने की जरूरत नहीं, उसे पढ़ने की जरूरत है. And once we try to do that, we know that this child, he has that kinesthetic intelligence. This child has that logical and mathematical intelligence. This child might have that spatial intelligence. But that thing is that once teacher comes in a role to observe and see what my children are doing, and once we give them that freedom, I believe, Puneetji, if we can create a school without classrooms, without a syllabus, and without these teachers, so-called teachers, chalk and board teachers, I think we can teach in a far better way. So that thing which like teacher feels that my responsibility is to deliver everything. No. We need to flip it. What children want to understand? What are the questions you have in your mind? So this dialogue should reverse. What I say most of the time to my mentors at SHANA International, Puneet, I say the greatest thing which you can do for a child is don't teach. Your teaching time should reduce, and let the learning time of a child must increase in the class. So if teaching time is reducing and learning time is enhancing, things are going on the right track.
So the role of teacher is to ignite the fire.
That fire of learning, sir, and that fire of learning comes with freedom. That fire of learning comes that fundamentally teacher's job is to
learn,
to invoke those three things. One, the sense of wonder, the sense of achievement, the sense of contribution.
curiosity.
If these three things, the power of volition, the power of cognition, the power of emotions, if we are helping child to internalize that, push that, children, they are natural learners. They want to do everything. They want to explore this world. We need to give them just that opportunity, and our system should be kind enough to support them, to help them.
There is a proverb, in fact, who dares to teach must never cease to learn, actually.
Right.
So therefore, our teachers have to learn these things, actually. They are not trained for this. And especially when you look at the higher education, all the teachers finish their maybe doctoral program and then come to the class. They are not trained. In fact, a primary school teacher is trained because he does B.Ed or M.Ed and something like this. So therefore, it is responsibility of every teacher to keep on learning, understanding the psychology and all those things. Because the way we are administering education might not be really the right way of doing it. I'll give you just one anecdote. A person had a Doberman, right? And he was told that if you give this Doberman the cod liver oil, he will become strong and his reflexes will be very fast. So he got a bottle of this cod liver oil and would hold the neck of the dog in his legs and would force this oil into his throat, few drops of oil into his throat, or maybe a katori of oil into his throat. And this dog was really trying to get rid of him. One day, this dog broke loose and split the oil which was in his hand, actually in that katori, and threw it on the floor. After going a few steps, he came back and started licking the floor. The moral of the story is dog was not fighting the way, he was fighting actually the way it was given to him. It is not that he was not liking the oil. And that is what has happened to our system actually. Our teachers force them to have something their way. It is not the student's way actually. So we have to keep student at the center of learning and then do whatever you want to do actually.
So coming again back to you, Bhat, in the process of making the system student-centric, not many things have changed in 21st century, especially pedagogy, the role of technology or technology-enabled learning process. So from your point of view, as a student of this era, what kind of attributes or skills a student should possess to be happy and successful in life?
Right. See, when we look at these new pedagogies, they do definitely help us in bringing out there's different attributes which this student should have, in fact, in his or her life. Things are changing. When we were students, or when we were students and taught by our teachers, what was most important during that time was that we must pass this examination, we must have a certificate and then get a job, right? That was what was being taught. Today, people are talking about one of the first and most important skill which the student must have is critical thinking. And this critical thinking means it includes qualities like fairness, open-mindedness, activeness, willingness to question or to entertain doubts, being independent, which we have been talking about during this discussion actually right from beginning. So this is what is known as critical thinking. Second second skill, which is considered to be 21st century skill, which the students must now possess, is problem solving. When we solve problems, it helps the organizations, it helps the society to become better actually. So we have to get information from the data which is available, and data is there, a lot of it is irrelevant also. And therefore, when we derive this information, then the knowledge which we get out of this information has to be used with wisdom, and then and only then it will be useful for the society. What I'm trying to say is, now if you look at the information in our libraries, there are so many books and it is full of information. Now let us say a mathematical differential equations are to be solved. There are books, there will be 100 books in your library on differential equation. So therefore, you know now there are hundreds of methods by which a differential equation can be solved. The student knows all these methods. He can read all these books and understand it. Now, if it is an examination, he will have to make use of one particular method and solve that differential equation which has been asked which has been given to him in the examination. If he chooses a solution or a method which takes 2 hours to solve one question, probably he has not used his wisdom. He should use such methods, which means that he has wisdom of using time also effectively. This is difference between information, data, and therefore the problem solving becomes very, very important, and everyone expects them to be problem solvers. Third skill which the student needs to have now is creativity and innovation. Explore the fresh ways of thinking, in fact, is what is creativity. It must have fluency, flexibility, originality, elaboration. All these things can be there. It can be new ideas generation. It could be building on the other earlier ideas also and modifying them, can also be this. So therefore, the innovative skills means thinking creatively to develop something which is very unique or very new, or which is improved version of something which earlier was there. Another thing which is happening is collaboration is becoming very, very important. When you go to the industry, ultimately you work in a team and you will have to adjust with them. The different people will be from different countries, different states, different societies, different religions, different ethical backgrounds, but you will have to work as a team. And therefore, you must have the understanding of socio-cultural environment of different places. Unless you do it, you will not be a successful player, and you will not be able to move ahead ultimately in your life if you are not doing it. People are also looking at another skill in 21st century, which is flexibility and adaptability. And this again is becoming very, very important. You have to be flexible in picking up solutions, adapting to the situations around them, and finding the best possible solution to go forward despite adverse conditions. If there is an accident, you don't follow a particular protocol to save a person. So you somehow jump into it, and that is how it is adaptability. and you have to be responsible for everything, for every action which you take is very, very important. You need to have self-direction, initiative. That is what is the role of a leader, which is important. So these are some of the skills which people are now today talking about, which people earlier were not talking. A different set of skill set was required, but this is the skill set which is required now in 21st century.
Thank you, sir. Now, last question for both of you. A playful mind is inquisitive, and learning becomes fun.
Can you repeat it, please?
If a playful mind is inquisitive, and that's how learning becomes fun. If we indulge our natural curiosity and retain a sense of fun in new experiences, we find it functions as a sort of shock absorber for the bumpy roads ahead. So connecting this playful mind, state of playful mind with 6 W's: who, what, when, where, whom, why, and how in the learning process. Kamlesh ji and then Bhat sahab. And this is the last question.
I feel yes, the more questions, these 5W questions, the more questions we have, the better learner we are. And there must be some fundamental questions. What is life? What I am? What I need to do in my life? Why this life? Why we are on this planet? So there are certain big questions which we have. So even I feel that in young age, if we create this wow about life in children's heart and their minds, I think throughout their life, they will be learners. Recently, I wrote a book about the thing you are asking, Puneet, what schools must teach. And this book is all about life-centric curriculum that children, they should be focused on the wonder of life.
Kamlesh ji, do you have the copy with you?
Sure.
The cover.
Just a second, Puneet.
Sure.
So, Puneet, it's not just nearby me, but yes, definitely one copy I'll share with you, and as well as with Bhat sir, and one copy I'll also send Anand Group sir.
Thank you. So kind of you.
Thank you.
So, Bhat sahab, your take on 6 W's.
See, I think what is being talked about, what we have been talking about for last 1.5 hours is basically the learner is the supreme, and learning increases when we have active participation of the student is the most important thing. We need to adopt to the methods or the way new pedagogies which have come up, whether it is cooperative learning or any other. There are hundreds of methods which make it very interactive. That is what needs to be done. In fact, I'll just say that the role of the teacher, in fact, is to say that I love you and give that confidence to the student. Tell him that I will miss you when you will leave this school. I respect you. I understand you. I will be there for you even when you are away from this school. And give him the confidence that you will, he can count on you, which is very, very important. This is what type of the arrangement which we need to have in order to have that joyful learning actually, and have that confidence in the student amongst the teachers, which is very, very important.
Thank you, Bhat sir. I think this is already 6:30. So, and we are able to cover up as much as possible. And it was a pleasing and great learning experience being with both the experts and eminent panelists. And still, lot many queries are there in my mind as well, but might be some other day. Thank you, both of you, for sparing time and knowledge and information with us and with our participants. Many viewers are attending through Facebook Live, and I'm sure the concurrent viewers would also enjoy watching it on YouTube. People, those who have joined the session through Zoom link, they can download their certificate, digital certificates. The link is given in the chat box. So this is all for today, and with a note that whatever the teachings are being shared by Bhat Sahib and Kamlesh ji, we will try to adopt and exercise and share as well as with the others, uh, those who are relevant for the particular topic, as well as parents as well. So this is all for today. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Puneet ji.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.